Away from that, Joy News has uncovered what appears to be a widely perpetuated fraud at the Bindery of the University of Ghana. The Bindery, located at the BAM Library of the university, is where thousands of students bind their final year dissertation and thesis before submission. They also undertake commercial binding of newspapers and books from people all over the country. But Joy News can report that much of the money generated goes into private pockets, while customers made up to 3 times the normal cost of binding. And that is, customers are made to pay that much. Manasi Azariawone will be following this closely, is here with me in the studio. Manasi, share your own experience with us, because I know you've been through this before. What exactly is the problem with the Bindery?
Well, what happens is that when you go to this place, you're supposed to pay, and then you take your receipt, and then when the work comes, you present your receipt and then take your work. But what I realized was that when I went, they had closed. They were just about closing, so this man said he wanted to help me. He gave his name as one Mr. Bedu. So he took the work and said I should come back the following day. But he brought me outside and tried to make me pay some money before I even come the following day. And I suspected something fishy. So what I did was to tell him I wasn't going to pay any peswa until he finished the work, and I also needed a receipt. And he asked, what do I need a receipt for? Who was I going to give that receipt to? And I said I was paying for it and I needed a receipt to that effect. When I came the following day, so when it happened like that, I became suspicious, so I started recording everything. I had the intention of exposing them. So when I came the following day, he brought the work and then gave me a receipt, which wasn't a University of Ghana receipt. His boss would later call it a Makola receipt. What happened was that he put this receipt in the work and then gave it to me, and I said no. I needed an official receipt. And he had told me that they charge 20 cedis for the normal maybe fee, and then if I needed express, they would make it 25, and the express meant that I would get it the following day. Thus, I sent it on Thursday evening, and on Friday, if I needed it, I should pay the express. But I later realized and discovered that there wasn't anything like express. What happened was I was made to pay at least more than I was supposed to pay. Only 15 cedis is the charge, but he made me pay 25. So for the 3 copies that I did, I paid 75 Ghana cedis instead of 45. So I went back the following week on Monday, and I encountered I confronted them, and they were giving me so many explanations. I said, no, this is what I know, and I feel cheated, so I'm here to take my balance. They were giving so many explanations, so I had to call or ask to meet the head of that unit, and we met one man called Mr. Ojo, and when we met him, he again called this man I was dealing with, Yao Bedu, because he gave me his name and number as Mr. Bedu, but they also called him Yao, so I suppose he's called Yao Bedu. So when he came, we had like a confrontation, and the boss asked him to say exactly what happened. So
it turned out that you were being cheated. You were being robbed.
I was being robbed. And in the first place, the money wasn't going to the university. Secondly, the money I was paying was even about twice of what I was supposed to pay.
What you were supposed to pay.
So his boss put that to him when we got to his office.
I see, and I know that the money was refunded. What was due you was given back to you.
Yes.
After a back and forth.
What happened was he said he didn't have money, so he was pleading with the boss that I would come the other day, and the boss said no. He had to go and borrow money and pay me. So in my case, because I didn't allow myself to be cheated, I took the original receipt. So the 75 I paid went to the university.
Is this something that happened to just you, or this is widespread in the university?
This is widespread. In my batch, the School of Communication Studies, we realized that, or I later realized that none of them took receipt. And some even paid as high as 105 Ghana cedis instead of the 45 Ghana cedis. And so this is not something that only happens to a few people, and you can also imagine what happens because outsiders also bring their works.
And this Bindery is owned by the University of Ghana?
Yes, it's owned by the University of Ghana, but it has a commercial operations unit, and that is where they undertake binding newspapers and other. They have very good machines. And
we could be losing a lot of money from that. We'll continue this conversation in subsequent broadcasts. I understand you have some conversations you had with those people we could listen to. So in subsequent broadcasts, which would do that. We'll bring that to you. Manasseh Asore-Wene is one of our investigative journalists here at Joy News. But now, the Health Ministry is investigating how a nurse was turned away from work at the Mamobi polyclinic after she showed up wearing a hijab. The Muslim nurse was ordered to go home, even though she reportedly produced a letter from the Health Ministry that hijabs were permissible. Tony Goodman is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health. He's joined me over the telephone. Tony, thanks for your time here.
Yeah, my pleasure, my sister.
Tony, share with us what the ministry knows about this briefly.
Yes, we not received official communication, but we've picked it up in the media yesterday and this morning.
What step have you taken as far as this case is concerned?
No, we are making sure that all facilities get this communication as quickly as possible. What really happened is that the communication went, but it's still in the system to get to the facilities. But most of our agencies have received copies of this communique from the ministry.
This communique, exactly what is in this communique?
Yeah, I have a copy in front of me where you're saying that do not force Muslims to take off their hijabs at work and in schools.
I see.
Yes, yeah.
The argument has been that the profession has a way of dressing. How did that play out in the ministry's decision to allow the wearing of hijabs in health training schools and at workplaces?
Your question is not clear.
I'm saying that for some people, they believe that the nursing profession or the nurse's profession has a uniform which it goes by. How did that play out in the ministry coming to this decision?
For us in the ministry, we've issued directives to our agencies. The regulators of that profession are also there, and the Nursing and Midwifery Council that regulates the nurses. So they will look at it, they will make sure that communication goes down and it fits into their planning and whatever communication that will go to their nurses. So we do not want to we don't want to regulate that profession, but we've issued a directive and we hope that the regulator will look at that directive and act accordingly.
In other words, this came solely, unilaterally from the Ministry of Health?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes. Now, it's a decision that was taken by the minister, and it's a communique that was sent to all agencies under the Ministry of Health.
Let's narrow it down on the issue of, on the Mamobi Polyclinic saga, or the Mamobi Polyclinic issue. What action, what steps will the Ministry of Health take in this regard? What are we looking at you doing?
So we are making sure that there is some harmony there. They work in harmony. They try to, as it were, talk to each other to understand where we are now. It used to not be the case in the past. Now we've moved away from a phase. This is where we are. We have to accept each other. We have to tolerate each other. They did not get this communique. Now they've had it. Their bosses are making sure that copies are sent to the various hospitals in the country.
Oh,
so
I see.
Yes. It went, all the hospitals are being managed by the Ghana Health Service. The bureaucracy we have in this country. You can't just call Mamobi from the ministry and start giving them instruction. It goes through the Director General to the regional director, from the regional to the metro or the district, before the district will relay that information to the facility.
Indeed.
So,
Tony.
Yes.
Our understanding is that this young nurse hatched the circular which she showed to her bosses at the Mamobi Polyclinic. Still, she was sent away.
Yeah, but you know that the circular will have to come them through an appropriate channel. That may be the reason. But I'm saying that we are trying to work at reducing some of those friction in the sector. We will make sure that this will be a thing of the past. We will address this issue to not happen again, so that we will have that quiet and sound mind to take care of the health of.
We have also heard that sanctions have been leveled against the authorities of the Mamobi polyclinic, or sanctions have been taken against them. What can you tell us about these sanctions you have taken?
That I'm not aware.
You're not aware of this?
Yeah.
Are you likely to take any sanctions against them?
No, as I just said, we've not received communique from the ministry or from their bosses, so it means that they are not aware of the directive, so it will be difficult to punish people unduly, because if they've not received the directive and you're punishing them, it means that you're not doing them any good. What we need to do, it is now, it is better late than never. They've gotten the information now, they will find a way of addressing these issues so that we'll not have some of those friction.
Right. Tony, I'm grateful for your time. Tony Goodman speaks for the Ministry of Health. We'll continue this conversation on midday. Make time to watch Joy News today. And I was telling you earlier also that pockets of violence or some sort of violence is broken out in the One Ghana march, a march supposed to ignite unity amongst the Ghanaian people. I'll bring you an update on that when I see you a little later from now on Joy News today. Thanks for your company here, though. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Bye-bye for now.